Okay, don't laugh at me. This is very difficult. And I want to start out with a confession. Would somebody from the Veterans Office find me after this is over? I bought a whole bunch of those candy bars yesterday, and I think I underpaid. I don't want to leave here without making up for that. Good. There it is. Good afternoon. President Cross, fellow regents, esteemed faculty and staff, students and alumni, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to welcome you to the inauguration of Dr. Kathy Sandeen as the third Chancellor of the University of Wisconsin Colleges and University of Wisconsin Extension. My name is Mike Falbo, and I have the privilege of serving as the President of the UW Systems Board of Regents, and I also have the privilege of being your MC for today's celebration. Before we get started, I'd like to extend special thanks to Nancy Van Brunt on piano and Craig Hurst on trumpet for the wonderful musical performance that we've enjoyed so far. I understand they know a couple of things about duets, apparently. Not only are they both members of the UW Waukesha music faculty, they are husband and wife. So thank you, Nancy and Craig. Let me begin by offering congratulations to Chancellor Sandeen on behalf of my fellow regents, many of whom are on the stage here today or in the audience, and the University of Wisconsin system. It's always a special day for us when we officially welcome a new colleague into the UW family. Today we celebrate the start of a new journey for Kathy and a new chapter for the University of Wisconsin Colleges and University of Wisconsin Extension. Going forward, these two institutions will look at knowledge and understanding, providing access to the University of Wisconsin's educational resources and research for the benefit of Wisconsin residents. In the weeks and months ahead, we will get to know Kathy better, and she will get to know us better. In that spirit, today we'll hear from several guests who know Kathy well. Maybe we'll get some of the dirt. And we will also hear from colleagues and friends who know UW Colleges and UW Extension well. Maybe we should call on Nancy and Craig to give us a few bars of Roger and Hammerstein's Getting to Know You. Then, following the formal investiture led by President Cross, we will hear from the Chancellor. I know Kathy has already been logging a lot of miles, visiting many of our two-year campuses as well as our extension offices and communities all around the state. In fact, she started in mid-December. She has been to 10 of the 13 campuses, some more than once. She's also visited a second grade class in Wausau to observe the UW Extension Nutrition Education Program. And she visited the Barron County Justice Center. I hope it was a visit. The site of the UW Extension Education Program for the incarcerated. She's appeared on radio and television, and she even participated live on camera at a pledge break on Wisconsin Public Television. And of course, as she would, she made a pledge. Hard to believe she's only been here 4 months with all that travel. But we expect that she is coming to appreciate what we already know, and that is there are two institutions on the move. In ways both big and small, they are growing and adapting to meet the needs of the community, state, and the nation they serve. Here's a little bit about Kathy. She's the oldest of 5 children. She's a first-generation Californian, but her roots are deep in the Midwest. Her mother grew up on a farm in South Dakota. Her father hails from the Windy City of Chicago. Like so many students that come through the doors or websites of the colleges and extensions, Kathy is the first in her family to attend college. Her sister Sharon, who's with us today, explains it like this, and I quote, "Like many first-generation college students, she and I had to figure out how to apply to college ourselves, with little guidance from our parents. I was lucky to have Kathy to give me advice," end quote. Her big sister will be a great chancellor, she goes on to say, because Kathy, and quote again, understands the value of public education and of lifelong learning, particularly since she is a product of that herself, end quote. Before coming to Wisconsin, Kathy was the first vice president for educational attainment and innovation at the American Council on Education in Washington, D.C. Capitalizing on her expertise in technology and higher education innovation, prior learning assessment, and alternative credentials, she created and led ACE's efforts to increase post-secondary educational attainment. a priority that we share here in Wisconsin. She also has more than 22 years of leadership experience at 3 University of California campuses, including serving from 2006 to 2012 as Dean of the UCLA Extension, one of the nation's largest programs that bridges a major research university with the surrounding communities. She will draw on that extensive and diverse experience now as she leads both UW colleges and UW Extension. For a little historical reminder, these 2 institutions have had a single chancellor in administration since 2005. They continue to maintain separate provosts and retain their individual identities and missions. Today, we celebrate Dr. Sandine's commitment to these venerable institutions. We join her in pledging to accomplish ambitious goals, and we come together in a shared vision of a better Wisconsin achieved through, as Kathy told us yesterday, inspiring innovation and creating futures. Without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Vice President Regina Milner, to say a few words on behalf of the Board of Regents.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon. On behalf of the UW System Board of Regents, I am honored to extend sincere congratulations to Chancellor Sandine and UW colleges and UW extensions on this important occasion. These 2 institutions are a vital part of Wisconsin's past, its present, and its future. UW colleges provide an affordable access point for families all across the state. More part-time students, adult undergraduates, and first-generation college students are served by UW colleges than any other UW institution. We have a responsibility to continue our strong advocacy for the value and worth of these important campuses. UW Extension, meanwhile, provides statewide access to university resources and research so that people of Wisconsin can learn, grow, and succeed at all stages of life. It works in partnership with all 26 UW campuses, all 72 Wisconsin counties, 3 tribal governments, and other public and private organizations in fulfilling its public service mission. Through statewide outreach networks, it connects university research to the specific needs and interests of residents and communities. Wisconsin Public Radio and Wisconsin Public Television alone provide venues for hundreds of UW System experts to reach Wisconsin residents in their home every year. Since joining the board 3 years ago, it's been my priority to visit the campuses in this great system. These visits have brought home the deep bond that exists between our institutions and the people and communities that they serve. And there is no better way to sum up the Wisconsin idea than the reach and potential personal impact of UW colleges and UW extensions. That community connection is essential to the success of Wisconsin. The UW system leverages its resources and leadership to improve Wisconsin's economy and its quality of life. We need that leverage to continue and drive success, because when UW colleges and UW extension succeed, when the UW system succeeds, Wisconsin succeeds. It's the reason we feel so confident in the choice of Kathy Sandine as chancellor for these institutions. As regents, we understand and expect that each of our UW system chancellors will provide broad leadership and long-range vision. They are also called upon to be strong and effective leaders and to manage helping our institutions make the best of precious resources, and the leadership of our fine chancellors has never been more important than it is today. Kathy Sandine has a proven record in pursuing the objectives of strong effective leadership. And I'm sure you're going to hear about it from her colleagues as they speak about her today and her past experiences. She has demonstrated the ability to set priorities and achieve success. We are confident that Chancellor Sandeen will strengthen higher education's capacity to create the future for UW colleges and UW Extension to thrive in their efforts to educate and prepare students, to develop the talents of university professionals, and to extend the vision and knowledge of these institutions beyond the boundary of any university building, to serve and stimulate society in the truest sense of the Wisconsin idea. Kathy, congratulations from all of us, and welcome to the great University of Wisconsin system. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Now I'm going to call on one of our student leaders to share a few thoughts. Graham Pierce, president of the UW College Student Governance Council, is currently a student at UW Marshfield, Wood County. Graham and his wife Amy are both non-traditional students returning to school to pursue their degrees. Graham in mathematics and Amy in communications. Graham?
Hello, good afternoon. As Regent Falbo said, my name is Graham Pierce. As president of the UW College's Student Governance Council, I'm privileged to be here today to offer congratulations to Chancellor Sandeen on behalf of my fellow students in the UW colleges. A little bit more about myself. My story will probably sound familiar to many of my peers. I'm a student at UW Marshfield, Wood County, studying math along with general education. And my plan is to transfer to UW-Madison in fall of 2016, where I will pursue degrees in mathematics and communication. Choosing UW-Marshfield to start toward my goals was an easy decision. Having a UW campus in the community where I was already living allowed me to get started on a degree without the added barrier of moving to another city, and the small class sizes and accessibility of faculty made it easier for me to transition into being a student after 12 years away from school. My interests lie in a combination of politics, sustainability, environmental and philanthropic work, and using technology to solve problems. Having the ability to participate in shared governance and student representation is very important to me. I'm so privileged to serve as a leader in student government as the president of the UW College's Student Governance Council. It's through this position that I've had the great opportunity to meet with Chancellor Sandeen. I was first elected to this position in the fall semester. After the new chancellor started in mid-December, I contacted her office in hopes that I could organize monthly student meetings. I felt this was important because it was the ultimate opportunity to share the student perspective and their needs and concerns with the highest administrative voice in our institution. From our very first meeting, Chancellor Sandeen has been welcoming, engaging, and the quality that I've appreciated the most, she's an active listener. There's never been a time in any of our conversations that she made me feel she was not 100% present. I think this is a valuable quality for the leader of our institution, particularly as we face the present challenges and work to evolve to meet the needs of the future. It can be challenging as a student to communicate with administrators, but I've never felt this way with Chancellor Sandeen. Students have a great deal to say and to share at their respective campuses, but our voices are only heard if we can get our administrators to listen. If students feel their voices being heard and we have collaborative relationships with our administrators, we as students will have a sense of loyalty and participation at our campuses. Chancellor Sandeen has made me want to express this to other students and cultivate this at their campuses as well. I cannot express how honored I am to be invited here today. I appreciate the work of President Cross and the Regents and their ongoing support of student interests, particularly Regent President Falbo, Vice President Milner, and Regent Whitburn, Chair of the Shared Governance Task Force. Most of all, I'd like to thank Chancellor Sandeen for asking me to be here today. I consider her a mentor and an ally, and I look forward to the opportunity to continue working with her. On behalf of the students of the UW colleges, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you, Graham, and I'm hoping you're not missing too much class time in order to join us. We appreciate you making the trip here for this special event. As I said earlier, we're pleased to have several individuals with us today who know firsthand what UW colleges and UW extensions are all about. It's my pleasure to introduce Marv Van Kekerix, Provost and Vice Chancellor Emeritus of UW Extension. That title doesn't even begin to capture all the different hats that Marv has worn over his 2 decades plus of service to the UW system, and I know this firsthand, being around about 11 years of all the things he's done for us. Quite frankly, we don't even have near enough time to tell you all of the things he has offered to this system. I will point out, however, that Marv served as interim chancellor of UW colleges and UW Extension in 2010-2011, as well as in 2004 and 05. And he served as interim chancellor of UW Extension before that. He knows this place inside and out. So join me in welcoming Marv, please.
Well, thank you, Regent Falvo. It is not the case that I cannot hold a job, okay? I mean, just want to get that out there. I want to try to put that down right away. Certainly is a pleasure to be able to participate in this grand event and to have the opportunity to express my own personal support as well as support of faculty and staff for Kathy, and to say a few words about the process that brought us to this exciting point in the history of the colleges and extension. I had the opportunity to serve on the Chancellor Search and Screen Committee as a representative for UW system. That's not a permanent position either, let me just assure you. And had the opportunity to work with representatives from across shared governance groups in both institutions. And I think you'll understand that this is a somewhat more complex process than it might be if you are searching for a chancellor for a single institution. The people that are in those groups share many values, attributes. They have a very wide spectrum of audiences that they serve, probably the widest of any of the institutions in the UW system. And the people who work with them are very dedicated to serving those audiences. So if you try to bring together all of those in a single committee with a diversity of backgrounds, experience, and expertise, and expect them to work together, it seemed like a pretty daunting task to me as we got started. After all, I believe there are over 25 members to the committee, and I did a count. They represented 17 different counties across the state. That's a pretty good example of how those two institutions span the state and how they serve statewide for many of the audiences. But work together they did, and they worked together beautifully. They dedicated time and effort to the task. They worked together freely expressing themselves, but always in a respectful and collegial manner. A number of them expressed the appreciation for the opportunity to work together because they saw it as a learning experience for them, an opportunity to get a broader perspective on both institutions. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge one person, and that's Art Lurch, who was our chair. I thought he did an outstanding job of providing leadership. At the end of that process, we had the luxury of a strong pool of candidates, but Kathy clearly had wide and deep support within the group. And speaking as a member of the committee, and personally, we pledge that we will continue that support for Kathy. And I express to you our very best wishes going forward. Congratulations, not only to you, but to both institutions.
Thank you, Marv. We're also pleased to welcome an old friend, Kevin Riley, President Emeritus of the UW system. Prior to his time as president, Kevin served 4 years as Chancellor of UW Extension and 4 years as Vice Chancellor and Provost. You see a pattern here of who becomes president of the UW system. More recently, Kevin has been a leadership consultant for the American Council on Education in Washington, D.C., and he continues to teach part-time at UW-Madison on subjects including his beloved Irish literature. As some of you may know, it became an honored tradition for Kevin to broaden all of our horizons of those attending meetings by sharing some of his favorite poetry with the group. And I'm going to assume that he has something special for us today. Kevin.
Thank you, President Falbo, and thank you, Kathy, for inviting me to say a few words at this very special occasion for you. So it's great to see so many friends and so many friendly faces. It's nice to be back. It's nice to be gone, too. At least I should say it's nice to be gone and not forgotten rather than forgotten and not gone. When Kathy first started talking to me about the possibility of applying for this job, we were both working at the American Council on Education in Washington, D.C. We were colleagues there, and the more she and I talked and what she was hearing from folks here and what I was talking to her about in these institutions, the more I got excited about the possibility that she would apply and that indeed that she might get the job. And so I'm very, very pleased that she did. I think it's really a good fit for her and for both colleges and Extension, both institutions I care about very, very much. Mike mentioned, well, maybe somebody would have some dirt on her, so nobody has so far, so here I am. I'm going to give you your first bit of dirt. So, you know, the thing you have to notice here is the climatological progression in her career. Southern California, Washington, D.C., Madison, Wisconsin, right? Now, I mean, you have to question judgment there about weather. But Kathy did. Regent Falvo asked me if I'd do some poetry as part of my remarks today at her inauguration. I'm happy to do that. So let's try this. When that April with its sure sota, the druth of March hath pierced to the rota, and bathed every vein and switched liqueur, of which virtue engendered is the floor, when Zephyrus eke with his sway to breath, inspired hath in every holt and heath, the tender croppies. What is that, all you educated people? What is that? Chaucer. It's in Middle English, which is the language he wrote in. It's the beginning of his prologue to the Canterbury Tales. So why is that appropriate to this occasion? You might well be asking at this moment. When that April with its sweet showers, the drought of March hath pierced to the root. It's April, and it's a time when the pilgrims in the Canterbury Tales, I know those of you who know that book know that these are tales, each of them told by a different pilgrim who are on all of them a pilgrimage to a holy shrine in England. This is the 14th century, and they're riding along on horses, and they each tell a tale along the way to pass the time. But they're out there because it's April. It's new beginnings. The flowers are starting to come up. The wind, Zephyrus, is blowing and kind of getting people charged up. You know, this is the season of festivals, book festivals, beer festivals, film festivals, crop festivals, and we're all kind of want to get out of the house, get out of our winter frock coats. So what we celebrate today is a new beginning, and we have, along with Kathy, a number of new chancellors. I know in the system we have a number of new regents. And it's a great time to get some new ideas into the system and get back out on the road toward the goals that we all share. So that's one theme I wanted to mention, new beginnings. Another one is coming together. These are all pilgrims from different places. They all will tell their own story, which are very different in theme and type. They're very different people. Some are better people than others. Some are more articulate than others. Some are smarter than others, but they come together for a common purpose, to go on a long pilgrimage. And you know, this is, again, 14th century England. There were highwaymen and brigands who might want to intercept the pilgrimage, going to a holy shrine, rob people. It's you know, tough thing, long pilgrimage. So this is a tough budget year for the UW system. It's going to be a long pilgrimage for everybody involved. There will be people who will try to do things that they should not do along the way of that pilgrimage. And I think it's really important that all of you come together and keep your eyes on the prize of where you're heading. So new beginnings, coming together as one, and then storytelling. As I mentioned, each of these stories is very different in its nature. Together they form probably one of the most well-regarded pieces of literature in the Western canon, probably the first collection of short stories, if you want to think of it that way, in the Western canon in English literature. Storytelling is so important. All of you have had the experience of coming to a campus and finding pretty quickly 4 or 5 or 6 great stories of wonderful work that our colleagues are doing, faculty, staff, and often students, with students, and sometimes the students on their own. And we just need to get a lot better at telling those stories, just as these pilgrims told wonderful stories along the way to their shrine and on the Canterbury Tales. We need to get a lot of allies to help us tell those stories, and we just need to keep repeating them and hammering them home much more forcefully, I think, than we've ever done in the past. So, new beginnings, coming together, and storytelling. 3 appropriate themes, I think, from the prologue to the Canterbury Tales to celebrate Kathy's inauguration. There is one line, as Chaucer in the prologue introduces the parson, who will tell the parson's tale along the way, and he's, in that discussion, is talking about a ecclesiastical problem a church can have or a parish can have, and he talks there about a shitten shepherd and a clean shape. Now, I won't translate that into modern English because I think you get the point. So, Kathy, we have a very clean flock in colleges and extension. People are really committed to the work, passionate, absolutely passionate about the work, and very competent at the work they do. And they need a good shepherd, and I know they've got one in you. So, I think I'll conclude by saying this. My wish for Kathy in this job as Chancellor of Colleges and Extension, and it's a great job. It is literally a unique job in American higher education, and I choose those 2 words consciously, carefully. It is a literally unique job and a great one, and I think you know that already from conversations that we've had. So what I wish for her is that in the job she grows in wisdom, age, and grace. One of those is inevitable. The other 2 are the really important ones. So congratulations, Kathy, and Godspeed.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm sure I speak for all of us pilgrims when I say thank you for all of your service to the UW system over all the years that you were here. As mentioned, Kathy comes to us from Washington, D.C., where she was Vice President for Education, Attainment, and Innovation at the American Council on Education. We are pleased to welcome here today a friend and former colleague from ACE, Margarita Benitez. Margarita's lifelong involvement with higher education began at the University of Puerto Rico, where she was a professor of literature and humanities. She went on to serve as president of the university's Calle campus. Over the years, she has held various positions at the Office of Post-Secondary Education in the U.S. Department of Education. Among other things, she was responsible for the launch of the Gear Up and other development programs related to minority populations. She also headed up the Upward Bound talent search and educational opportunity programs in TRIO. From 2007 to 2010, she was Director of Higher Education for the Education Trust, and she is currently Acting Director of the American Council on Education's Emerging Leaders Program, which includes the renowned ACE Fellows Program. Margarita also serves as Co-Director of Women's Knowledge International, the Missing Piece for Peace, a network of universities and feminist organizations across the world dedicated to promoting the contributions women make to a culture of peace. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Margarita Benitez.
I must begin by saying something you already know. Kevin Riley is a hard act to follow. Once upon a time, though not that long a time, there was a young fellow, and when I say fellow, I mean ACE fellow, somebody who took part in the American Council on Education's signature leadership development program. This young fellow was eager to learn from the experience and wisdom of college and university presidents. In her fellowship year, she managed to interview more than 30 such presidents and discovered significant coincidences in their experiences and in the lessons learned throughout their presidencies. Taken together, she wrote in 2011, "My interview notes provide a wealth of information for current or aspiring presidents. The interviews address the skills needed by a president today, desirable leadership qualities, the role of institutional culture, communication style and strategies, connecting with faculty, recovering from mistakes, and general advice for new or aspiring presidents. A true treasure of presidential wisdom. I bring it as an offering to Chancellor Sandin from her earlier self, ACE Fellow Kathy Sandin. It was unearthed from the ACE Fellows files by one of Kathy's many ACE admirers, Brian Madden, who belongs, as I do, to Kathy's large DC fan club. This is not the only treasure we come to share today. I've come to share your commitment to the land-grant university principle that intellect should create and imply opportunity for all in the Commonwealth, as expressed in the immortal Wisconsin idea. For some, access and excellence are conflicting priorities, while others assert each is fully realized only in the presence of the other. For access to have meaning, to truly make a difference, it must be access to excellence. If access just means a chance to get in, and if excellence is just for those who can afford it and who start at the top of their class, neither will make much difference in the lives of most people. As your Chancellor knows, excellence can be achieved through multiple pathways. True access implies a commitment to student success, certainly from the student, but also from the institution, as well as an ethical obligation to keep asking ourselves, where are the missing students? How can we get them back? How can we serve them better? This is what I think your founders understood, your president and Chancellor Sandin believe, and the academic communities that she will lead live by. I believe that the Chancellor we celebrate today will make great contributions to what already is an admirable system of campuses and centers throughout the state of Wisconsin. Ultimately, the success of a visionary chancellor comes from encouraging visionary deans, who in turn encourage visionary faculty, until eventually the vision is realized. In 1931, President Kerr of Oregon State Agricultural College, what is today Oregon State University, listed 4 elements that made up, in his view, the essence, the spirit of land-grant institutions. The spirit of initiative, pioneering. The spirit of growth, progress. The spirit of equal opportunity for all, democracy. The spirit of helpfulness, service. 85 years later, I think we can agree that this spirit lives on throughout the many campuses of this great University of Wisconsin and in the tribal colleges and historically Black institutions that so richly deserve their land-grant status. I know that your new leader is imbued with this spirit as well, and having you join forces is indeed a cause for celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. At this time, we're pleased to welcome another longtime friend and educational colleague of Chancellor Sandin's. His name is Don Greenstein, Director of Education with the Post-Secondary Success Program at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Dan oversees work at the foundation to substantially increase the number of students who acquire a post-secondary degree or certificate. Before joining the Gates Foundation, Dan was Vice Provost for Academic Planning and Programs at the University of California Office of the President, a role which includes acting as Director for the UC Online Education, a new effort to integrate online education into the university's undergraduate curriculum. He has led, and in some cases founded, several internet-based academic information services in the U.S. and the United Kingdom, such as the California Digital Library. He is keenly interested in sustaining innovations in higher education that enable more students to acquire affordable, high-value credentials. And we're delighted to welcome him to Wisconsin. Dan?
Thank you, Regent Falbo. Thank you, Chancellor Sandeen, for inviting me to speak at your inauguration. It's a pleasure to be here. Dr. Sandeen is a super colleague, a good friend, and an emerging great leader in higher education. Today, more than ever in the history of our country, higher education forms the sturdy backbone of our society, our democracy, and our economy. Provides the surest route to a sustaining and meaningful career, and it prepares millions of people to engage in their communities and to pursue and achieve their dreams. It enables lifelong learning in every domain of human knowledge and endeavor, from digital photography to zoology to ancient history and entrepreneurship. And higher education is a critical part of our social compact. By investing in it, our nation ensures its continuing prosperity, and it bolsters its democracy and promotes economic and social mobility for all our citizens. It is the direct answer to questions about what our nation needs to do to improve its talent pool, extend economic opportunity, and advance social equality. And nowhere is this tradition, this great promise of higher education, more evident in this country than in the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin's university system, one of the largest in the country, contributes vitally to this state's economic and agricultural prosperity, to its health, to its democracy, and to its culture. This state deservedly boasts of the Wisconsin idea. I understand that to mean that access to the knowledge and resources of the university system should be spread to all corners of the state and available to all its people. And Wisconsin proudly sustains the Wisconsin colleges and the University of Wisconsin Extension that make possible this bold idea that higher education, that accessible, high quality higher education should be available and affordable to all citizens. So as we move into the heart of the 21st century, visionary leadership in higher education will be essential. It is essential today. Not only to provide stewardship over the gains that have already been achieved, but to advance those gains in a world which will require more, not less, of our universities and our colleges. In that world, higher education will need to be available anytime, anywhere, to anyone, in amounts large and small. In that world, we can expect to be dominated by continuous and sometimes rapid innovation. In all these regards, Wisconsin is very fortunate to have Chancellor Sandeen at the helm of the UW colleges and the UW Extension. Chancellor Sandeen is an energetic, effective, and optimistic leader. Before coming to Wisconsin, during her 6 years at UCLA that we'd already heard a bit about, she doubled the program's revenues. Now that feat is pretty impressive during any period. Chancellor Sandeen pulled it off during the 6 years that included the state's most severe economic downturn since the Great Depression. Chancellor Sandeen is also committed to a kind of higher education that grows out of and is responsive to and reflects the needs of the communities that it serves. When she was at Santa Cruz, she guided the extension program there into the neighboring Silicon Valley. It's a community little known for the fact that it has tremendous wealth disparities, and fulfilling through the Silicon Valley Center an unsated appetite for more, for better, for practical higher education. Chancellor Sandeen is also an innovator, and I could speak at some length to our pioneering experience in areas including online learning and with scholarly and public media and many more. But actually I prefer to get at what I believe to be the true motivation that drives her continuing engagement with the new and the experimental. It springs from her unyielding commitment to students, to ensuring that all students have access to and are able to succeed in affordable, high-quality educational programs. Before I close, I'd like to also say that Chancellor Sandeen is a great collaborator. Collaboration, I've discovered throughout my life, is actually quite an easy thing to do when times are good and projects are interesting. But the real collaboration, the true test of a collaborator, comes when times are incredibly challenging. At the University of California, I was the guy at the system office, and Chancellor Sandeen was then dean at the campus, and there's sometimes some tension between those two roles. And between us in those, apparently that's true. Probably not here. No. And we faced in those very difficult years some of the most challenging issues that the university is still struggling with. And I can tell you from that perspective that Chancellor Sandeen, as a collaborator, is the best kind of partner. She collaborates with integrity, with passion for the mission, and with a great deal of spirit and interest in actually getting things done. I loved the interview with Chancellor Sandeen that was published just a few weeks ago in a publication called Evolution. When asked what universities and colleges could do to increase the value they deliver to the students, she seemed quick to respond, keep a laser focus on student outcomes and adjust practices and communication methods. Because at the end of the day, it's the learning that's important. Focusing on learning outcomes creates a lot of value, and that's something institutions could start improving upon and implementing right away. That is so optimistic, that is so student-centered, it is so implacably can-do. It is so Kathy. So congratulations, Dr. Sandeen, on your inauguration, and congratulations, Wisconsin. You are very fortunate to have her in your midst.
Thank you, Dan. But I heard in there she doubled the revenues rate. We appreciate you coming here to Wisconsin too, and you are leaving us with some interesting ideas and thoughts to consider. We take credit for all the online stuff, but here in Wisconsin, so we were following your lead. Okay, good. Okay, so let's get to it. To lead us in the formal investiture of Kathy Sandeen as the third Chancellor of the UW Colleges and UW Extension, I'm going to call on the second Chancellor of UW Colleges and Extension and the current President of the UW system, Ray Cross.
Well, it's good to be amongst friends, right? Well, help me out a little bit, okay? I feel like I've come home. It's an honor to be here today, and I'd like to thank all of you for joining us, especially Kathy's friends from out of state, and Kevin as well. It's so good to see him again. And thanks, too, to the musicians who joined us, Craig and Nancy. Craig, I've always heard about your horn playing, but I really enjoyed that the other night. I really did. I can't see you, Craig, so. I've had the opportunity to participate in a couple of inaugurations in this role, and it makes me proud that so many campus colleagues, community leaders, and university friends join us. So with that, could I ask the chancellors who are here, our colleagues, could you stand so I could just say thanks and hi? There's Joe, and I see Bernie, and Bob, and yeah, Dean Van Galen and Debbie. Thanks a lot, folks. And I would also like to ask the UW College's deans to stand, and the deans and directors from Extension as well. Could you stand? Kathy, these are some wonderful people. Which brings us to the reason we're here today, the formal inauguration of Kathy Sandeen as the third Chancellor of the University of Wisconsin Colleges and Extension. As someone who has walked in that path, I can say with complete confidence that you're in for a wonderful and rewarding experience, Kathy. I don't have to repeat the fact that colleges and extension Extension is very unique. At one point, I thought I would stand here and just articulate every activity in every county of this state. Then I thought by 6 o'clock that might get a little boring. But that's the kind of impact this institution has, from Douglas County to Racine, over into Pierce County, from a farmer that lives in a small little community that very few people know about, to an academic sitting in a classroom in Fox Valley, and to the children of those families and to the students that they serve. The impact on the lives across this state is just enormous. We heard a marvelous student experience today in the student spotlight from Matthew, who talked about how he was so bored in school, high school, and got turned on by coming here to Waukesha, one of the college campuses. The incredible, incredible transformation in his life. And he very eloquently described his experiences and the impact it's had on his life, and how much pleasure he gets out of serving others and teaching as a tutor. Well, not only do the colleges have that kind of impact, so does Extension. They're in all 72 counties. In many cases, their work is obscure and somewhat hidden. It's not obvious. They work in partnership with the counties. And then, of course, public television and public radio, you don't even realize the impact they're having. And what we're doing today with the whole new business division, I want to call it Deeds, Kathy, but it's new. What we're doing today is just phenomenal. We are helping to have an impact on small businesses, not just the creation or the startup of nascent companies, but the growth of stage 2 companies. It's incredibly impressive. And then, of course, in that whole picture, the college, the School of Continuing Ed, I always call it CEOEL. I can never remember what that stands for. We have so many acronyms with David Scable and his team. The creative arm of colleges and Extension, and what they're doing with the Flex degree and have been doing with these collaborative degrees for a number of years. Very impressive. But in her short time since becoming Chancellor in December, Kathy has worked tirelessly to connect to these institutions and what they do, and to understand their value to the people of this state, and how that's a part of the commitment this state has made to serve future generations. Well, before being a chancellor in the UW system, before I was a chancellor in the UW system, I had it real easy in life. Well, you're supposed to laugh at that, you know. But this was one of the best jobs I ever had, and I'm not sure why I left it. It's very rewarding. It's as Kevin said, it is a different, it's a unique institution. It really is unique. It's not the traditional institution. We aren't standing here today in regalia. We're a part of the community. We are embedded. We are joined at the hip with those we serve. Their success is our success. Their failure is ours. And that value, those values, are what is attractive about Kathy. She's already shown that she shares those values. Her passion is tempered by realism, pragmatism, developed in her decades as part of the California system, where they are no stranger to educational and economic challenges. I know that under Kathy's leadership, UW colleges and Extension will continue to remain partners and catalysts in their communities, their regions, and throughout the state. They share wisdom, achieve breakthroughs, and improve the human condition where they are. I know she will continue to work necessary and do the necessary things to demonstrate the many ways that colleges and Extension serve as one of the region's universities of, and just as importantly, for Wisconsin. So with that, we get to install her in this position formally. So Kathy, would you please come? Please stand over on this side, if you may. Would you please? Okay. It is my privilege, Kathy, to bestow this Chancellor's medallion as a symbol of the office, and to charge that it is worn with the greatest humility and with an understanding of what it represents. The hours and responsibility of serving the students, the faculty and staff, and stakeholders of UW Colleges and UW Extension, as well as the people of this great state. May it serve to inspire you as you lead these institutions in their mission of teaching, research, and public service during what promises to be a positive, productive, and exciting term as Chancellor of the University of Wisconsin Colleges and Extension. And with that, I will do my best not to mess up your hair.
Good job.
Well, that was a lot of fun. Boy, I like this. Thank you, President Cross, Regents, my fellow colleagues, my Chancellor colleagues, my colleagues, new colleagues from Colleges and Extension. Also, I want to really welcome those of you from the UW Waukesha campus. Thank you for loaning us your campus for this and for our Board of Regents meetings. It was lovely. And I also want to give a special acknowledgement to the members of our shared governance groups who are in the audience today. I see one right there waving too. You are very important to us, our faculty, staff, and student shared governance groups. You are my partner in the work that we do, and I really appreciate you being here and being represented. And to Dan and Margarita flying from each coast to be here, I'm really grateful. I also want to welcome the over 2,000 faculty and staff and over 14,000 students in the colleges who, you know, they're spread all over the state, and the thought of trying to do an event where we could bring them all together, very, very difficult. But we are recording this, and we'll make it available to them early next week, so I want to welcome them as well. You know, I debated whether to hold an inauguration ceremony at all. As President Cross pointed out, we are very different organizations. We're really two institutions. We're spread all over the state. We don't have one single campus. How do we possibly do this? The other thing is, maybe one or two of you heard, we're going through a little bit of an austerity thing here in Wisconsin. So I really thought, boy, you know, is this something we should do? But I think these ceremonies are very important. And for me, it's important. It's more about us than about me. This is a time to celebrate as a community. It is a time to celebrate the beginning of our important work together. So we decided to keep it simple, you know, kind of keep no regalia, no fanfare, but just some important time to spend a little time, some heartfelt words, and that's what we got. As I was marching in here, all of a sudden I got this feeling brushing over me that maybe I'm walking into a roast. But in fact, it was just the opposite. And thank you. Oh, it's not over yet. Okay. But simple or not, adding an inauguration ceremony to a Board of Regents meeting that we're hosting on a campus is no trivial matter. And when I mentioned it, I just want to say that our team stepped up to it. They did not hesitate for a minute, and they made this happen for me. And I am very, very grateful. So it's customary at times like this that the new chancellor would give a speech and chart the future of the organization, but I'm not going to do that today. I did a little bit in my presentation to the Board of Regents yesterday. What I'd like to do today is talk a little bit more on a personal level about my personal journey and what brings me here today. As Margarita mentioned, I was an American Council on Education Fellow. That was about 5 years ago, and it was during that time that I came to the realization that I was part of a demographic group I hadn't realized before. And that realization really crystallized for me my place in higher education and my calling to serve. As you heard President Falbo say, I am a first-generation college graduate. Neither of my parents spent one day on a college campus in a college class. And in fact, my father dropped out of high school in order to join the military during World War II. Now, both my parents were extraordinarily hardworking, they were intelligent, and they were successful, and they gave us a good life. It was possible to do back then without a college education. They just didn't see themselves as having the opportunity. As you heard, I'm the eldest of 5, all of us born in Oakland, California, and only my sister Sharon and I, and my sister is here today, made it in and through higher education. She is currently a professor of law at Hamline University School of Law in St. Paul, and she's also an expert in U.S. and international trade secret law. So really proud of you, sister. I remember distinctly my father saying when I was younger and considering going to college, it's okay for the girls to go to college because after all, they're just going to go get married anyway. That's exactly how it turned out, right, Sharon? But I would say toward the end of his life, my dad took a complete 180 on that, and he really understood the great value of higher education. Like many of our students in UW colleges and UW Extension, I didn't have a role model. My parents couldn't help me, but somehow I figured it out, and my sister and I do often look at each other and we say, it's a miracle that we did this. And it was partially, but not quite, because we lived in a state that, like Wisconsin, made a big commitment to access and to giving people opportunity for higher education, and I'm grateful for that. And at the time that I started pursuing higher education, I was just going through my life. But now, on reflection, I realize that it's not that easy being a first-generation college student, of feeling that you don't quite belong, of not knowing that it's okay to interrupt your professors and have a conversation with them in their office, of keeping it a secret that most of your family is working class, of changing your vocabulary and your communication style based on your environment. Now they call it code switching, and now it's something that's positive, but at the time, it can create a lot of discomfort. Or at family gatherings, not talking too much about school or your accomplishments because you don't want to appear arrogant or too much, or appear to be a show-off in any way. Flash back a couple of years, 5 years. After my mother died and we were going through her things, I took a look at her wallet. And in her wallet were the usual things, driver's license, credit cards, a little bit of money. But tucked away in a special spot in her wallet were 3 business cards. Mine, my sister's, and my daughter, Marissa, who had just graduated from UC Berkeley and had her first professional job. Now, my mother may not have understood our worlds, but she obviously was very proud of us. And when I think of those 3 little business cards there, I think they are symbolic of what can happen in one generation because of higher education. My life would have been completely different had I not figured it out and got myself into college, and into college again and again and again. And I have dedicated my career going forward to ensure that other people have the same opportunities that I have. Besides my many years at University of California, where I was really focused on access and innovation and helping non-traditional students, I'm really grateful for the 2 years that I spent in Washington at the American Council on Education. There I was able to take a deep dive into the world of education attainment, the innovations that are occurring at institutions all across this country, including this one, and we will do more, other organizations, foundations, and so forth. And it's really great. It really has added to my skill set in coming to this job. So that brings me here to Wisconsin. Last summer, I got an email from a friend of mine who said, I just nominated you for this job in Wisconsin, and you better apply for it. I'll be really mad if you don't. And the more I talked to people about it, like Kevin Riley, and the more I got on the web and started doing my research on the organization, I understood that this was a place where access was important, where innovation was important, and where service was important. It aligned with my background and my values, and it was a place where I felt I could make a difference. Here, it's the ultimate notion of access, the Wisconsin idea. I call it access on steroids, and I think that's a really good thing. It's only been a short time, but as you heard, I've really made an effort to get out there to connect with the various offices, campuses, people in this wonderful organization. And I can say without a doubt that we are blessed with faculty, staff, students, and supporters connected to us who really believe in what we do and support what we do. We need more doors, more wide open to more people. And I am so glad that my new colleagues are joining me, along with people like Dan and Margarita, as gladiators for this cause. And I look forward to the work that we'll do together. So in the end, I'm very glad that I opened that email, that I went to the trouble to apply for this job and go through that little thing called the search process in the University of Wisconsin, that the board, the search committee, the president felt that I can do the job and gave me this wonderful opportunity. It's a great opportunity to serve the people who serve the state of Wisconsin, the citizens of Wisconsin, like the young Hmong student pursuing her dream to become a pediatric nurse by starting her first classes at UW Fox Valley. Like the former inmates in Ashland and Pepin County jails who took a class in parenting from UW Extension and marked that as the turning point in their relationships, keeping them out of jail and solving some of their problems. Like 500 Wisconsin farmers, grain operators, and lenders who recently downloaded a free app that was developed by an extension agent in Waupaca County to help them quickly and accurately determine the value of certain crops. And then, of course, the teenager from Burnett County who participated in 4-H for 13 years and says, I learned confidence and leadership skills and how to conduct myself in an interview. And I achieved several jobs, and including a free ride scholarship to UW-Madison, where he's studying math and science. We are the spark. We help people become resilient. We care about education in all its forms: degrees, career preparation, information, knowledge, connections, and inspiration. That's what we're all about. So I will close today by circling back to my personal story a little bit. I mentioned that my parents did not attend college, and that's true, but my father did take advantage of his GI Bill benefits, and he did pursue some education. He always had a dream to become a pilot, and he went to flight school and he got his private pilot's license, and he even achieved his instrument flight rating. If there's any pilots out there, you know that's not too easy to do. So we were lucky that once in a while we got to fly with our dad. And because I was the eldest, sometimes I got to be the co-pilot. Can you imagine a 10-year-old girl flying a plane? It was so cool, you know. And I realized now, in reflecting on that my father gave me something very important. He gave me the ability to see what's possible and to take risks. He gave me the ability to see beyond and to see what's possible, see the big picture. I will say that my parents gave me wings, and I'm very grateful for that. And here, UW colleges, UW Extension, UW System, and the state of Wisconsin have become that proverbial wind beneath my wings. And we're flying into an uncharted future, but we will use those wings and we will fly. Now and then, I'm sure we'll encounter some bumps and turbulence along the way. I'm sure there's times when it won't be completely clear where we are going, but we will fly. We will fly into the future, where we will continue to serve and continue to innovate. And I don't know if I'll get through this, but I'm going to try, because this is something because I've told many of you before in some of my videos. We will do this because we are unique, we are important, we are impactful, we are University of Wisconsin colleges and University of Wisconsin Extension. We are the Wisconsin idea. Thank you.
Now I'm getting worried.
You should be. Yes, please be seated. This is, the formal part of this is over, but in colleges and extension, we always like to have fun. So you need to know this for those of you who may not have experienced inaugurations or installations in the past. Internally, we joke about them as coronations. So I mentioned that to Kathy, and so we have the appropriate apparel to represent that today. And therefore, this is, and I've asked my colleague Kevin, and former chancellor of this organization, but also my predecessor and president, former president, to join me in placing on Kathy the appropriate ornament. So now, the roast is not over. Just a final comment that we can now officially not only call her Chancellor, but also Queen, right?
I can tell you we never did that to Ray for obvious reasons. Kathy, I'm so proud that you're here, and I think I speak for the regents that are, not only the regents that are here, but all of the regents when we say thank you. Thank you for including us. Thank you for being here. And we know we're going to see great days. Thank you all for coming. We don't rush off. We invite you to join us for an informal reception. My notes say, if it's nice outside. The reception will be just outside the theater in the lobby and patio area.
That's option B.
Option B is, if it's not nice outside, in the main commons where the board meeting was held, so just a short walk away. And to avoid any traffic jams, if you would help us and allow the people on the stage to get out of your way, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
I really want to see